majority of local and regional health stakeholders don't realise the importance of the European Union and its potential impact on our health and our health system. How does the EU impact me? How do I get involved? Why should I bother with Brussels are some of the main questions to consider. Depending on which sector you work in, up to 3/4 of all legislation that lands on your desk can originate in Brussels. Many of these policies or laws will impact our health or the NHS in some way. Agricultural policies on the quality of safety of food that we eat, employment policies on the hours that health professionals can work, and research policies looking at the amount of funding available are all relevant to the NHS. Amongst the policy and legislation and funding that impacts the NHS, there are some great opportunities to influence agendas, learn from experiences, gain European funding and positively impacting health. So how do we go about doing this? Brussels and the European Union might seem complicated and inaccessible, but help is at hand in many forms to help you demystify Brussels and how it works. Brussels is like a mini Europe. People from all of the 27 European countries and beyond trying to influence legislation, policy and funding that comes from the European institutions on a wide array of issues. Some people estimate that there are up to 40,000 lobbyists based in Brussels. Companies, public sector, charities, networks, governments and more all have some sort of representation in Brussels. The North West Health Brussels office is one such entity. In Brussels there are three main European institutions, the European Commission, the European Parliament and the European Council, that propose and decide on European policy, legislation and funding. These guys form a decision-making triangle. The Commission is there to represent European interests and act as the guardian of the European treaties. It proposes legislation for the Parliament and the Council to decide on. There's a college of 27 commissioners who are appointed rather than elected, with one commissioner from each EU country. There are 40 directorates, equivalent to our UK departments, including a Health and Consumer Directorate. The European Parliament is an elected body representing you and me as European citizens. They're elected for 5 years and 754 members of the European Parliament across Europe, 72 for the UK and 8 for the northwest of England, from a spread of different parties. The power of the Parliament's increased a lot over the last few years, and it's now one of the key institutions to watch and to influence. The European Council is our third and final institution, representing the 27 different member states and their governments and their leaders. Heads of state and relevant ministers meet with their European counterparts on all issues including health. So how do these three institutions piece together? The process begins when the Commission is asked by the Council, an institution or another country to prepare a policy or law. This is signed off once it's been through the relevant processes by the College of Commissioners and passed on to the European Parliament and the Council. This process is called co-decision, where the Parliament and the Council will have up to 3 readings of that policy or law, batting the document backwards and forwards, making amendments with the European Commission acting as a mediator until the text is adopted. This can take up to 5 years. Hovering around the outside of the decision-making triangle and this legislative tennis match are a raft of different bodies, committees, advisory groups who can bring evidence to the table. Health sector staff and organisations can be part of this through their membership of European networks, their Brussels representation and their national governments. You or your organisation can be one of the many people involved in the game. Your expertise, evidence and views are important and can be represented in this game, but the timing of when to join the game is key. Health sector organisations sometimes pose the question, why bother with Brussels? They see little relevance and few ways to influence what goes on. The reality is that their work, patients and services are impacted in many ways, and that there are ways that already exist for them to get involved. The North West Health Brussels office is one such organisation that is helping NHS organisations to increase their understanding and engagement with European funding, legislation and policy. So go on, be bothered about Brussels, get involved in the game and influence the outcome, engage with the European work and your opportunities that impact your health and your organisation.